Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
All right. Hey, I just caught the end of you're talking about the tech school.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm glad you had them on. We had some conversation about that during the last school committee meeting, and I, in sort of a darkly ironic fashion, had to laugh because I don't know if you caught, we had a big report come back on the new Spirit of Knowledge charter school that just opened in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, under the governor's new ed reform law, the new charter schools are charged with only taking students that are underserved, so students that aren't doing well in the MCAS and that sort of thing. And the report we got back showed that basically Spirit of Knowledge had taken a whole bunch of 8th graders who were doing really well in the MCAS already, and they're probably going to do really well in their 10th grade MCAS. And I feel like we got to be fair, and when we're doing that with our own schools, we should own up. And one report we haven't asked for, which I think is because we pretty much already know what the answer would be, which is what have the MCAS scores looked like for kids who are entering the tech school now over the last, say, 5, 6, 8 years, particularly since the tech school's been in the new building. My suspicion, and I think this is probably true of most of my colleagues, is that we'd see that the 8th graders who are entering are higher achieving students. And, you know, if they're higher achieving in 8th grade, you're going to be higher achieving in 10th grade.
Okay. So what?
Well, it means two things. The first thing it means is that when we look at the MCAS scores over time, both for the comprehensive schools, we probably have a greater proportion of the students who aren't achieving as well in the MCAS that are ending up in the comprehensive schools who wouldn't have previously. The other thing, and this is the thing that really concerns me, is whether or not we're really being fair in terms of how we're using a vocational school in the system. Are we actually making sure that we're serving a population that needs vocational education?
Well, I think the proof is in the statistics. There's a 3-year waiting list. Then maybe you, as a member of the school committee, and your colleagues ought to be sitting down and say maybe one of these conventional high schools ought to go away, and we ought to be working towards another vocational school in the city of Worcester if the need is there. I mean, and you should also be looking at specialized high schools, because you're still trying to make all kids, all coins being the same size, and that's never going to work. And you have limited resources, and you're trying to make 4 high schools all offer the same baseline curriculum, and all be geared to kids going to college, and that's what Worcester has.
Well, and we actually have 5 high schools now that are geared to kids going to college. And what about the kids that aren't going to college? Well,
because it's just not a popular discussion. Because anytime I had to have that discussion as a chairman of the school committee, it was, you can't talk about that.
Right.
So I mean, these youngsters in vocational school, 23% of these kids are not going to go to college. They're going directly to work, and a lot of these other kids are going to junior colleges or 2-year colleges, and I don't think you have to throw the baby in the bathwater out. I don't think you have a problem with vocational school. I think you have a wonderful asset over there, and instead of worrying about that asset, you really ought to, from my perspective, you ought to be concentrating on the schools that aren't performing very well.
Is it the schools that aren't performing very well, or have we changed the population in those schools?
Well, I don't think you're eliminating anybody. You got 72% of the kids in that school are on a free lunch program. So that's Worcester. So you can't use that argument. I mean, these are the same kids that you're failing everywhere else. How come?
Are they the same kids?
Hey, Tracy, you use the same demographics.
Not.
All of a sudden you get a successful. You know something? Let me tell you something, Tracy. All of a sudden you got a real successful high school in Worcester, and now we're all going to find reasons why it shouldn't be.
That's actually not what I'm saying at all, Jordan.
Well, that's what you're saying to me.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying to you is, where are the kids that aren't achieving well in the MCAS in 8th grade, and where are we putting them?
I don't know. They're putting them. A lot of those kids don't want to go anywhere except in their regional school that's in their respective neighborhoods. A lot of that's by choice.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I know it's by choice. It's always been by choice. I mean, how many people do you have on the waiting list at the Worcester Technical High School?
Hundreds.
How many?
Several hundred, but there's 300.
Oh, let's say there's 300, okay? How many students are in high school in Worcester?
There's about 1,200 in each of the comprehensive high schools.
Okay, and you have 4 comprehensive high schools?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's 4,800.
Right.
So you have 4,800 that have chosen to go to a comprehensive high school and 300 waiting to get into voc.
Right.
Well, your numbers are pretty simple. 4,800 have chosen that that's where they want their education, or their parents have chosen that. So I don't particularly see a problem. I think the conversation is making a problem that isn't there. That's my opinion.
And what about the population of the kids who are, say, in the vocational programs that are at the comprehensive high schools?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a school committee person. I don't know. But you certainly have all the potentials. We've certainly spent a lot of money in public education in this city and given the school committee plenty of leeway to develop the most comprehensive educational opportunities. Plenty of grant money has come in. Plenty of federal money has come in. You guys have had plenty of opportunities to get cutting edge and to be able to accomplish a whole bunch of things. When general government was going for the tank, public education has been highly supported at a rate that continues to grow every single year. So if there's a problem, I think people have to look in the mirror, the people that are running the school system.
Well, and actually that's part of it, is that vocational education gets a higher rate of state funding than the rest of the common population.
Because it's a more complicated, because they have a 2-curriculum base going. I mean, let's be honest about it. You have a 2-curriculum base going. You have all of the academics that the normal high school student has to have, and then you have on the sharp end that you have to have. So you're double teaching these kids, but meanwhile, they're the same kids from the inner city that are in poverty, that are excelling at a faster rate. And if anything, you ought to go over there and learn why they're successful and other schools aren't. That would be a real novel thing for once, for the school committee to stop with the gabbering up there and go over and find out why some kids exceed in some schools and they're not in other schools, and we're all treating them alike. Boy, would that be novel for me. Tracy, I got to run. Yeah, it's a big joke. Okay, thanks for calling. All right, we'll be back.